After working with over 100 real estate investors in my wholesaling PPC agency, I've seen the investors that get rich and stay rich follow these 3 commandments. Number 1, you need to budget based on your cash conversion cycle. What is the cash conversion cycle? Well, let me explain. You see, when I made about $200,000, I closed about 20 deals that year, and I spent about $5,000 a month on marketing to get the deals. And at the end of the year, my main goal for the following year, double my revenue, right? Can't be too hard. All I had to do was double my marketing spend, and then I'll make twice as much money, right? Well, obviously it didn't pan out that way. But what happened? Even though I grossed $200,000 after paying myself and paying for all the marketing and the overhead and the taxes, I had about $20,000 left in my bank account for marketing. So I decided to spend the $10,000 a month over the next 2 months, and what happened was my campaign completely bombed. You see, I spent it on direct mail on this new list I never did before because I wanted to grow the business on something new, and it went to crap. I made no money, I barely got any leads, 0 deals, and I ran out of marketing money. And the rest of the year was really challenging and very stressful for me. I made less money the following year than I did the year I grossed $200,000. It was a huge, painful lesson that I learned. And we're going to break down exactly what happened. You see, I tried scaling my business the way I thought everyone else was doing it, but obviously I was missing something. But what? Well, what I've come to learn after working with 7-figure investors is I didn't know my cash conversion cycle. And if I did, this never would have happened. You see, what the cash conversion cycle is, it's the time between when you spend money and when you actually get paid. When you click purchase on that direct mail campaign versus when you actually get paid at the closing table, that time is your cash conversion cycle. How long does it take you to convert your cash out into profits back in the door? For a lot of businesses, e-commerce, drop shipping, or like Amazon site, it can be just a couple days between when they buy the inventory and when they resell it. Or like a fast food restaurant, it's again, only got a couple days between when they actually order the food and when a customer buys it. It's very quick. But for real estate, it's 6 to 9 months. It is a very slow business. Think about it. There's time between when you actually spend money on marketing and when the leads come in. Then you have to follow up with the leads to get the contract. And then you have to send the contract. Once you get that, that's a couple months go by. That goes to the title company. That's a few weeks. And that's assuming there's no title issues or other judgments that happen which can delay it further, or we have to get siblings to sign the contract, which can take months, or the property's in probate, which can take a year plus. And then we have to go to closing. And if you're flipping, that's another 3 months, because then you have to purchase the property, fix it up, and then resell it, wait for the buyer to get approved for a mortgage, inspection, yada, yada, yada. And if you're brand new, I would add another 3 months onto that, because you don't know what you're doing. You're probably going to mess up a little bit. Deal's going to fall through the cracks, or you're not going to follow up properly. So that's basically 12 months. So the formula that you need to follow is your cash reserves divided by your cash conversion cycle should equal your marketing budget. Now, if you don't have any cash reserves, I'll cover what you should do in a second. You see, in my business, because I was using Google Ads, a form of online marketing that can get you the highest quality leads, my cash conversion cycle was only 4 months. So if I had $20,000 in reserves to spend on marketing, I should have broken that out over 4 months and continue to spend $5,000 a month and not $10,000 a month. And this is how $1 million businesses get in trouble too. They spend too much on overhead and their margins are too small, and they don't have enough set aside for marketing, and they're living deal to deal to fund payroll. The truth is, if I really wanted to double my business the following year, I would have had to follow the second commandment: scale before you pay yourself. This is how you dominate your market and skyrocket past your competition. Of the investors that I know who got rich and stayed rich, most of them actually started doing this part-time, and they would reinvest all of their profits back into the business before they paid themselves at all, and they continue to live off their job so that they can grow their business. So if I really wanted to scale my business the next year, instead of paying myself, what I should have done was probably got another part-time job somewhere and then had additional money in reserve so that I could have continued to spend $10,000 a month for 4 months, and then I would not only would have made my money back, I would have made more money, and I would have been able to scale my business. Now that's challenging, having to get another job, but sometimes that's what it takes to double your revenue in a year. If I did want to get a job, I should have added other free marketing methods and not have tried something expensive and new that I haven't done before. This is a very painful lesson for me. Now here's an example. Let's say we have a guy named Bob. Bob has $10,000 in savings. So his plan is to spend $3,000 a month over the next 3 months to get deals. We have a second guy named Jerry, and Jerry has $30,000 in savings. Now Jerry decides to spend $3,000 a month over the next 10 months to get deals. Both are spending the same amount of money. Now, what happens with Bob is he spends money for 3 months, gets no deals because he doesn't understand the cash conversion cycle, runs out of money, says his business doesn't work, and then quits and does something else. But Jerry goes through 3 months, doesn't get any deals, says, oh, okay, this is what I expected. Let me continue to do this for another 9 months. And then he proceeds to go and get deals, reinvest the money back into the business, and he's able to grow the business. Both of them were spending the same amount of marketing dollars per month, but one was able to spend the same amount of money longer, and that's the difference. And that's why so many newbies fail. Their marketing budget is too high based on the reserves that they have. But the investors who make $1 million and keep it and grow their business steadily year after year follow this third commandment. Let your cash flow dictate your business. You see, when you gross $1 million a year, there's a lot at stake. You have families to feed, and you can't afford to miss a single payroll. And cash is like air. You don't think about air until you don't have any of it, and then that's all you can think about. Cash is the same way, right? You don't really think about it, but if you run out of cash, you're in trouble. So these investors, they can't afford to run out of money. Having good cash flow is priority number one. And you can improve your cash flow with a shorter cash conversion cycle. And the cycle is dictated by 3 things: your marketing, your market, and your disposition strategy. Every marketing channel will have a different cash conversion cycle, and it's usually based off of the quality of the leads that they generate. For Facebook ads, you're gonna get a very low quality lead, and it's going to take a long time to follow up with the leads to close deals. On the flip side, Google Ads, what I use and what my agency does, has a very short cash conversion cycle because it's some of the highest quality leads you can generate. SEO also has a short cash conversion cycle with high quality leads if you're already getting leads in, but it could take a year or two to actually build your setup and rank high enough to get leads. And direct mail, well, it depends on the list you use, etc. Cold calling, texting, somewhere in the middle, again, depending on your list. So if you're asking yourself, what marketing channel should I do? Think about the cash conversion cycle of that channel and how much money you have in reserves. Your market. Yes, your location makes a huge difference, in large part because of real estate laws vary state to state. States like New York, New Jersey, and California have a lot of regulations that take a longer time for the attorneys and title companies to review the contracts and actually get to the closing table. On the flip side, states like Delaware and Texas and Tennessee have less regulations, and deals tend to close faster. And if you're flipping properties, different cities and even neighborhoods have different days on markets, and that's how long the property is going to sit there after you relist it before he'll actually sold and get your money back. Plus, the overall housing economy that's affected by interest rates, among other global factors, can determine how quickly properties are going to sell. All of this is really out of your control, but you can't ignore it. It needs to be factored into your marketing strategy. It needs to be factored into your business plan and how much you're going to spend in marketing every month. The fact of the matter is, it may just be easier to scale a business faster in Texas than it is in New York. This is one reason why virtual wholesaling is so popular. You should check out my I Tried Natural Wholesaling from Scratch video to see exactly how it worked out for me. Finally, disposition, which is how you're gonna exit out of the properties, whether it's wholesaling, flipping, keeping it as a rental, creative finance, etc. And flipping, even though you can make more profit, again, adds another 3 months at least on your cash conversion cycle. This is why a flipper will take a $20,000 wholesale now versus a $30,000 flip profit a few months from now if they have other projects going on. Cash flow. Cash flow is king. You need to master your cash flow by balancing these 3 factors so you can get rich and stay rich and not make $200,000 and end up broke like I did. And if you appreciate the transparency in this video, you're really gonna like this next one.